This is you. You're born in 1960, and by the time you're 6, you're cutting the heads off dead animals to see what's inside. Not because they did anything to you, but because you want to know what happens when things stop being alive. No one stops you. They think it's a phase, but it isn't. This is your beginning of becoming one of the most insane people to ever live. Your father shows you how to clean bones in the garage and how to use bleach and acid. Your dad thought it was a little weird, but I guess you could be doing way worse things. At least he thought. Your house is not violent, but it's not safe either. Your mother is fragile, always medicated or screaming. Your father is smart, but that's about it. They fight constantly. Loud arguments that end in silence. You hide in your room. You learn not to speak, not to interrupt, not to feel. You drink your first beer before you're a teenager. It doesn't taste good, but it's not like anything else in your life tastes good either. By high school, you're hiding bottles in lockers and soda cans. It doesn't feel like rebellion. It feels like survival. Alcohol makes the voices in your head a little quieter. It turns the buzzing in your head into something you can almost live with. And if you drink enough, maybe the voices will finally stop. You realize you're gay during high school, but you never tell anyone. You don't want love. You don't even want to, What you want is for someone to stay, to lie still, to not leave. You fantasize about men who don't talk, men who don't move. You imagine being next to someone who isn't alive anymore. You think that maybe if they're dead, they can't leave you like everything else does. You're not violent, you're just empty, and the thoughts are starting to grow, and the voices starting to get louder. The first time you kill, it's not planned. Not exactly. You're 18. A hitchhiker named Steven asks you for a ride. You bring him home. You drink. You talk. He says he needs to leave, and something in you snaps. Not in anger, just a mistake. You don't scream. You don't rage. You just grab a dumbbell and hit him in the head. Then you strangle him. Afterward, you sit beside the body for a long time. Not crying, not panicking, just thinking. You take the body to the basement. You cut it open and dismember it. You bury the parts in the yard and go to sleep. How you were able to get to sleep after literally murdering someone, I have no idea, but nonetheless, we move on. You don't tell anyone what you've done, and you try as best as you can to move forward and pretend you're still capable of living a normal life. You enroll in college, thinking maybe routine or environment will fix something inside you, but it doesn't take. Your drinking gets worse. Your classes slip away, and before long, you drop out completely. The army seems like the next best thing, but of course you suck, so it doesn't work. You keep drinking every day, through drills and through nights, until they discharge you. From there, things begin to fall apart even more quietly. You're arrested for exposing yourself in public, which is insane, and then again after molesting a boy at the mall, which is double insane. The court orders counseling and you attend once, just long enough to nod, to say what they want to hear, to promise you'll stop drinking, to swear you'll change. But you don't. You never do. You move through jobs and neighborhoods like it was no one's business. You learn how to be invisible, how to pass. But in 1987, it starts again. You meet a man named Steven, and you bring him to a hotel room in Milwaukee. You drug him like you've planned, but something different happens this time. The room around you starts to spin, and then you black out. When you wake up, he's dead. There's blood on the mattress, bruises on his chest, and not a single memory of what happened. You don't remember doing it, but you don't question it either. You believe it. You know it's you. You pack his body into a suitcase and take him home. This is your favorite part. Dismembering him in your bathtub. The cutting becomes less disturbing with each step. You save certain parts as trophies, bleach the bones, and dispose of the rest. And after it's over, you don't feel guilt or remorse or panic. You just feel empty, like a complete psychopath. After every kill, you decide to start collecting things. Bones, skulls, pieces of skin, Polaroid photos, organizing and labeling them. You store them in drawers and shoeboxes, and eventually in your fridge. But the fridge is reserved for heads and their hands or feet. You start posing the bodies, photographing them in different stages of dissection and decay, not because you're proud, but because you want to hold on to something. You don't want to forget their faces. You want them to stay and not leave you like everyone else. Eventually, you move into your own apartment, Unit 213 at the Oxford Apartments. It becomes more than a home. It becomes your lab and human museum. You go to bars and seek out men who are young and vulnerable, often alone, often ignored by the people around them. You offer them money to come home with you, and when they do, you give them drinks laced with sleeping pills. Some you kill quickly, some you sit beside for hours, some you watch until their breathing changes, and then you move. It all depends on what you need that night. Silence, obedience, a body that doesn't move. You begin trying new methods to keep them alive longer, not out of compassion, but out of obsession. You drill into their skulls and pour acid or boiling water into the cavities, hoping to create something that isn't fully conscious. A living mannequin that breathes, but doesn't think and never leaves. But it never works. Every time, they die, whether it takes minutes or days. And with each one, your home fills with more of what's left. Bones, organs, torsos. You keep parts in the fridge, others in jars, and the rest in a blue barrel filled with acid that sits against the wall. The smell is overwhelming, but you get used to it. You try to build something out of the remains, an altar made of skulls and limbs and memory, because in your mind, it isn't a house of horror, it's a kind of sacred space. You think if you can finish the shrine, you can arrange the right number of skulls and bones beneath the black table in your bedroom, maybe you'll finally feel whole, or forgiven, or at peace. Maybe the itch inside you will stop and the voices will finally be quiet. The neighbors complain constantly about the smell, a rotting chemical stench that seeps through the vents and into the hallway. You tell them it's spoiled meat. You say the fridge broke and they somehow believe you, even though you look like a straight-up serial killer. The police show up once or twice, but they don't look around because you're polite and quiet and clean-cut. It was all going so good, all until one night when a young boy escapes. He stumbles into the street, naked, bleeding, disoriented, and someone calls the police. When they arrive, you're calm. You tell them the boy is your boyfriend. You say it's a domestic argument, that he's drunk and overreacting. They believe you again. They hand him back to you. You bring him inside, and within an hour, he's dead. You take photos, you save the body, you eat parts of him. You store the rest in the freezer next to the others. By 1991, you've killed 17 people. You've memorized the process, the drugs, the knife, the cleanup, the storage, and it all feels routine now. You don't fantasize anymore, you just do. But then, one night, it ends. You bring home a man named Tracy. Same routine, same pills, same apartment, but something goes wrong. He fights back and escapes. He finds the police. They return with him, and for the first time, they ask to look around, and you let them. Not because you're caught off guard, but because some part of you has been waiting for this. You're tired. There's nothing left to build. The voices keep getting louder, and you can't escape them. They open a drawer. Inside are photographs, dozens of them, images of men in pieces, their limbs bent and arranged, their faces still visible. The officers turn pale. One says nothing, the other calls for backup. They open the freezer. There's a head inside, still frozen, still intact, still staring. You don't run, you don't scream, you just say, "For what I did, I should be dead." And you mean it.